Let's face it, Kant, free will is a comforting illusion. We live in a universe governed by strict laws of physics. Every action, every thought is simply a result of cause and effect set in motion long before we were born. We're no freer than planets in orbit.
Ah, Albert, I would expect a man so focused on matter to overlook the mind. Free will is not bound by physical laws, because it is a product of reason. The fact that we feel compelled by moral duty proves our autonomy. Humans aren't machines. We can choose.
Choose? Ha 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 ha, you choose because you don't understand the forces at play. Your so called moral choices are nothing more than the result of prior causes, biological drives, past experiences, subconscious impulses. Free will is just another name for ignorance of those causes.
So now, ignorance explains morality. How convenient for a determinist. I find it astonishing that a mind as brilliant as yours would so eagerly reject human freedom. If we have no autonomy, if all actions are predetermined, why do you even argue for truth?
Because truth exists, regardless of our choices. Determinism doesn't deny truth, it simply explains it. And if free will exists, where's the evidence? We study physics, psychology, biology, all point to a web of causes that lead to effects. There's no room for your fantasy of freedom.
Evidence. Not everything is subject to measurement, Einstein. You can't dissect autonomy like a science experiment. Our sense of duty, our internal laws, these point to something beyond physics. Human beings transcend causality through reason and will.
Transcend, that's just wishful thinking. You can dress it up as reason, but ultimately, our decisions are determined by forces we don't control. We might feel free, but that feeling is irrelevant to reality. We are bound by the laws of nature, whether you like it or not.
And yet, those laws cannot dictate morality. Physics can explain the motion of a stone, but not the moral worth of an action. A stone doesn't ponder ethics, a human does. Reason grants us freedom by allowing us to act according to principles, not blind impulses.
Principles can't are just another byproduct of our circumstances and conditioning. You call it acting according to principles. I call it reacting within the bounds of prior causes. We are products of our environment and genetics, and every choice is limited by them.
Then you reduce humanity to mere cogs in a machine. How bleak. Without free will, there's no morality, no responsibility. You'd let people hide behind forces beyond their control as an excuse for every wrongdoing. My theory defends human dignity. Yours undermines it.
Dignity, morality doesn't require free will. We can acknowledge the causes that shape behavior and still hold people accountable. Ignoring the reality of causation doesn't make it any less true. Besides, what is dignity if it's based on a lie?
It is you who lies to yourself by denying freedom. Without it, justice is impossible. If we are slaves to causality, as you claim, there is no right or wrong, no truth worth defending. You've trapped yourself in a self-made cage of your own determinism.
I don't deny truth, I seek it. And truth is indifferent to our desires for freedom or justice. Believing in free will just because it makes life easier is nothing but self-delusion. Science has shown us time and again that we're not as free as we'd like to believe.
And philosophy reminds us that science cannot account for everything. The concept of moral law would be meaningless without autonomy. If humanity's every action is dictated, then every human ideal, freedom, ethics, responsibility, is a farce.
So be it. If we have to sacrifice comfort for truth, then let's do so. Accepting determinism doesn't cheapen life, it clarifies it. Instead of clinging to fantasies, we should seek to understand the forces that drive us.
So we should just resign ourselves to our fate, like puppets on strings. What a hollow existence. You deny the very essence of what makes us human. Freedom is not a fantasy. It is the foundation of moral law, of humanity's highest ideals.
Ideals built on illusions, truth, Kant, is far more valuable than comfort. If we abandon our illusions, we might actually start to understand ourselves.
No, abandoning freedom would mean abandoning ourselves. True understanding of humanity must recognize our autonomy. Without that, Einstein, What's left of the human spirit?
The human spirit, Kant, is merely a product of the laws that govern it, not some mysterious free entity. If you can't accept that, then perhaps it's not my understanding that's limited.
And if you refuse to acknowledge our freedom, then perhaps it's not my imagination that's the problem, Albert. Freedom isn't a choice. It's our nature. And you, for all your theories, cannot take that away.